Ella A. Mooney, August 27, 1850 to December 4, 1909. Buried in St. John's Reformed Church Cemetery, Upper Red Hook, this marker has a square base with a cross on top, located left of the westernmost cemetery road, just after the large Potts Bud marker on the eastern hillside of the road. Artist and benefactress. Make her to be numbered with thy saints in glory everlasting, are the words carved onto the tombstone of Ella A. Mooney, daughter of Edward Ludlow and Laura Blanchard Mooney. Adorned with a cross, the monument symbolizes Ella's devout faith. Although she and her father are buried in St. John's Reformed Church Cemetery in Upper Red Hook, she was an Episcopalian. Born in New York City, Ella was the second oldest of her family, according to the 1855 U.S. Census. Her brother Edward Lawrence Mooney, known as Lawrence, was 2 years older, and her sister Laura 4 years younger. Ella outlived all her immediate family. Younger sister Laura may have died in childhood, as there is no reference to her in the 1860 or 1870 census. The Mooney family, devoutly religious, faced additional familial loss and further testing of their faith when Ella's older brother Lawrence, employed as a brakeman, was one of 22 people killed in a train accident in southern Dutchess County. A disabled southbound freight train was struck just north of New Hamburg by a northbound passenger train on the Hudson River Railroad line on February 6, 1871. That collision caused 2 trains to catch fire and sent several cars into the Hudson River. Lawrence's body was not recovered from the river until February 17, 1871. The New York Times reported that Lawrence had been a brakeman for only about 2 weeks, adding, "Uniform testimony is borne to his faithfulness and sobriety, and when the summons came, he was at his post of duty. A very warm attachment existed between him and a younger sister, who was always at the door with outstretched arms of welcome when he came home. All of his comrades speak of him as a whole-souled, genial fellow." Funeral services were conducted at the Mooney home in New York City by Reverend Dr. Adams of the Madison Square Presbyterian Church. The eldest Mooney child was laid to rest in Mount Auburn Cemetery near Boston, Massachusetts. When Ella's mother Laura A. Blanchard Mooney died on January 4, 1885, following an illness, she was buried at the Blanchard Vault in Mount Auburn Cemetery with her son. Ella resided with her father at their home named Maple Hill in the hamlet of Upper Red Hook until his death in 1887. He left his estate to Ella. It was with his brush that he acquired the fortune that he left his daughter, reported the Poughkeepsie Eagle News after Ella's death, adding, "Miss Mooney was also an artist of ability, and she left a gallery of 82 paintings, some the work of her father, some of her own work, and the rest by prominent artists in this country and abroad." Her estate was valued between $60,000 and $100,000. Ella's faith was fervent as her father's, and she exemplified that by generous donations to the Episcopal diocese, having converted from being a Presbyterian to an Episcopalian. She gave land for the building of All Saints Chapel behind her home in the later part of the 19th century, and she developed her house into a home for deaconesses of the Episcopal Church. It was called St. Clare's House and was in use as a retreat center until the mid-20th century, according to Roger Leonard in his book Upper Red Hook and American Crossroads. Upon her death on December 4, 1909, Ella left a large estate to various causes, including $15,000 in a trust to the National Academy of Design to enable pupils to study art in foreign countries in memory of her father, and $8,000 to create a trust for All Saints Chapel, as well as bequeathing sums of money to friends and family, including $1,000 to Maria E. Burgess of Upper Red Hook. Ella's longtime friend and companion, Ina Gibson Russell, who resided with her at Maple Hill, was left the remainder of Ella's estate. Leonard states that Ina, who was the niece of Tivoli resident Clara Gibson Platt, moved in with Ella the winter after the death of her father to keep her company. But he surmises she may have befriended Ella years before, when Ina had been a teacher in a fine arts school in New York City. The 2 women were patrons of All Saints and taught Sunday school there, according to Claire O'Neill Carr's A Brief History of Red Hook. Ina died May 12, 1940, at age 87, having been a resident of Upper Red Hook for 70 years and outliving her friend Ella by more than 30. Ina's funeral services were held at All Saints Chapel, and she was interred in Mahawi Cemetery in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where her parents were born and buried. After the deaths of Ella and Ina, both St. Clare's and the chapel were subsequently closed and sold by Christ Church in the 1950s.